Nothing beats a Honda ATV for getting people and equipment around the farm to the worksite and back. Experienced ATV users make riding look easy, and it can be. But for the new rider, learning the basic operating skills and practicing those skills is a necessary step towards reducing the potential risks and maximising the benefits of your ATV. It's important to recognise that ATVs are different from any other vehicle or machinery. But like any tool you use to make your work easier, there are potential risks. Employers and people in charge of ATVs have an obligation to ensure that employees, youths and visitors are adequately supervised and instructed in their safe use. Your ATV comes with several safety labels. Anyone who rides the vehicle should read and understand the information before riding. These safety labels contain important information that makes riding safer, helps you to be more productive, and makes using your ATV more enjoyable. Your most complete source of information is the owner's manual, which you will find in the toolbox of each vehicle. This video is designed to complement that owner's manual by showing you the location of components and controls, basic riding skills, along with safety information and recommendations. This video does not qualify as a safety course, and Honda recommend that you attend an approved NZQA ATV qualified training course. Contact your local Honda dealer for details or agribusiness training on 0508 247 428. The owner's manual has additional information on riding skills, using your ATV with trailers and other equipment, and general maintenance. Please read it carefully. Before you go for your first ride, it's important to become familiar with all the components and controls of your ATV. Sit down on the seat and take a look around. Directly in front of you is the fuel tank, along with the ignition switch and key. In front of the handlebars are the neutral and reverse indicator lamps. On the left handlebar, you will find the rear brake lever, the headlight switch, the headlight dimmer switch, the engine stop switch, and the starter button, and on models equipped with ESP, the gear shift buttons. The rear brake lever has a lock, which allows it to be used as a parking brake. On ATVs equipped with a manual reverse gear, this is where you will usually find the reverse selector knob. On the right handlebar, you will find your throttle lever and your front brake lever. Looking down to your left foot, you will see the gear shift lever, if a manual, and at knee level, the fuel tab. By your right foot is the rear brake pedal. Before each ride, it's important to inspect your ATV carefully. This is not only for your safety, but a little preventative maintenance help to ensure the long, usable life of your machine. This pre-ride inspection starts with the tyres and wheels. Look for cuts or gouges on the tyres. Check the tyre pressures, as improper tyre pressure may make the ATV unstable, hard to steer, and can reduce the usable tread life. Next, check the controls. Make sure the throttle moves smoothly and snaps back with the handlebars in any position. Check the handbrakes, foot brake and shift lever. Test both the ignition and engine stop switch and make sure the lights are working properly. Always make sure you have enough fuel to get where you're going and back again. And check the oil level. Poor maintenance of ATVs has been identified as a contributing factor in a number of accidents. Therefore, always have your ATV maintained in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendations. Once you have checked over the ATV, consider what you are wearing. The proper riding gear is an important part of your safety and productivity. Honda recommends always using a safety helmet, either an approved motorcycle helmet or an approved ATV helmet that complies with NZS 8600-2002. The latter is designed for low-speed off-road use only. A helmet worn with eye protection not only protects your head in the event of an accident, it protects you from low-hanging branches and things like flying farm debris. It also helps protect you from the sun and wind. Gloves, work trousers or overalls, and a long-sleeve shirt also help protect you from hedges, fences, scratches, and flying debris. Avoid loose-fitting clothes that could get caught up while riding. Over-the-ankle boots or gumboots will protect your legs. They will also protect your legs from the heat of the engine while providing you with a more positive feel of the gear and brake lever. Before starting your ATV, make sure it's on a solid level surface and lock the parking brake. Turn the fuel tap to the on position. Turn the key in the ignition switch to the on position. Make sure the transmission is in neutral. The green indicator lamp should be on. Check that the engine stop switch is in the run position. It's easy to forget this. If you're using your ATV in cold weather and it's a carburetor model, you may need to pull the manual choke lever all the way out before starting a cold engine. With the throttle closed, press the starter button. Once the engine starts, push the choke lever to the halfway position. Allow the engine to warm up and run smoothly. Push the choke lever all the way down to the off position. For later models with fuel injection, turn the key on, wait a few seconds for the fuel pump to prime, then push the starter button. Let the engine warm up and the idle to stabilize before riding off. A good riding posture will help to give you better control. The head and eyes should be up and looking ahead. The shoulders should be relaxed with the elbows bent and slightly away from the body. The hands should easily reach the handlebars and controls. The knees should be in towards the gas tank, with both feet firmly on the footrests and toes pointing straight ahead. Learning to ride takes time. You will need to practice the basic skills in a safe practice area. For your first ride, choose an open area that's relatively flat and free of any major obstacles or other riders. Lay out a course that has both gradual and tight turns, and a straight area for learning to accelerate and shift gears. A clearly marked course will give you a better feel for what you can and can't do. To start, make sure that both feet are firmly on the footrests. Apply the rear brake and raise the shift lever to shift into first gear. Release the brakes and gently press on the throttle. To slow down or stop, release the throttle. Apply equal pressure to both the front and rear brakes. Practice starting out and stopping until you are comfortable. Remember to practice at low speeds. ATVs are rider active. That means you should shift your body weight when making turns, going up or downhill, or going over obstacles. To make a turn, steer the handlebars and lean your body in the direction you are turning. At higher speeds, leaning helps to balance the vehicle and makes the turn more comfortable. To make a sharp turn at low speeds, shift your body weight slightly forward to the inside of the turn. You should also lean slightly forward when making a turn while accelerating from a complete stop. Remember to apply the throttle gradually to maintain a steady speed, especially when turning from a complete stop. Practice these techniques turning both to the left and to the right. Be aware that the surface you ride on will affect the ability of the ATV to turn. ATVs are designed for use on off-road surfaces. Riding on harder surfaces will take more steering effort and body lean. Stopping in a turn is more difficult. Learn to stop smoothly without skidding before attempting more difficult maneuvers. ATVs come with a number of gearbox options. As your confidence builds and your speed increases, you will need to shift into a higher gear. Most ATVs have an automatic clutch that makes it easier to shift between gears. Always release the throttle between gear shifts. Use your left foot to lift and release the shift pedal to get into second gear. Then gradually press on the throttle to accelerate. You will use the same procedure for shifting into third, fourth and fifth gear. As your ATV slows down, you will need to shift into a lower gear. Release the throttle, press down and release the shift lever to reach the next lowest gear. Do not rest your foot on the gear lever once you have changed gear, as this will engage the clutch and disconnect the drive. A gear shift hand lever is located on the left side of the fuel tank and allows you to shift into low, drive, neutral or reverse, or ESP mode where fitted. Your ATV must come to a complete stop before moving the shift lever, and you must press the release button on the side of the shift lever to move out of neutral or from drive to low. Some automatic transmission ATVs offer you a choice of drive mode. A drive mode selector switch located on the left side of the handle cover offers three choices: D1, D2 or ESP. When towing, only use ESP mode. The D1 mode provides shifting that's set for everyday riding. D2 mode should only be used in poor traction situations such as ice. Some ATV models are equipped with electric shifting. In this mode, you can shift gears much like a manual, but without the clutch. The gear position indicator shows the selected gear and the drive indication shows ESP. Press the upshift button once for first gear from neutral and subsequently to change up through the gears. Remember, always release the throttle before you shift. To shift into a lower gear, press the downshift button. Again, release the throttle before you shift. The reverse, neutral and forward gear position indicator is clearly visible on the multifunction display. Most ATVs have a reverse gear. Before shifting into reverse, bring the vehicle to a complete stop and make sure the transmission is in neutral. Hold on the brake pedal and look behind you to make sure there are no people or obstacles in the way. Push the red reverse selector knob in, squeeze the rear brake lever and depress the gear shift pedal. The reverse indicator lamp should come on. Release the brake and then accelerate slowly. When in reverse, avoid making quick turns and always use both the front and rear brakes together. To shift out of reverse, come to a full stop and lift the gear shift pedal back into neutral. When climbing hills, select a low gear. Shift your weight forward on the seat and lean forward. This puts more weight on the front wheels and helps to keep them on the ground. Standing up and leaning forward will apply more weight in a downwards direction. Start practicing with gentle slopes. Never try riding up a hill that seems too steep for your ability. Always slow down before you reach the top of the hill. You never know what may be on the other side. Downhill. It's best to come down the slope with the ATV pointing straight downhill. Avoid riding across the face of a hill or angles or cattle tracks that would cause the vehicle to lean sharply to one side. Always look ahead to plan out a safe path. Shift into a low gear and move your weight back to the rear of the seat. Your arms should be fully extended. Go downhill slowly with the throttle closed. Use the rear brake pedal to control your speed. Avoid using the front brake hard or abruptly when going downhill. Using a lower gear gives you more control, while it reduces wear on the brakes. Remember, your brakes are less effective on surfaces like wet grass, wet clay, gravel or snow. Riding on hills or slopes is different from riding in level terrain. Take extra care when riding on any hill. Practice on easy slopes before trying more difficult terrain. To maintain your balance and stability while riding across a slope, move your body off the center of the seat and lean toward the uphill side of the ATV. On loose or slippery surfaces, you may also need to steer slightly uphill to maintain a straight course. Never ride across a hill that is too steep, slippery or rough. You may have to shift more weight and lean more when making a turn on a slope. When parking your ATV, try to find a level parking area. After coming to a complete stop, hold the brakes and shift into neutral. If parking on a hill, park sideways. Turn the front wheels uphill and dismount on the high side. To set the parking brake, squeeze the rear brake lever and lock it with the lock lever. Turn the ignition switch to off. If you are finished riding for the day, switch the fuel valve to the off position. When riding off-road or riding across a farm, you may not always be able to see what kind of obstacles or rough terrain may be ahead. The owner's manual has specific recommendations for handling your ATV in rough situations. Read this material carefully. While this video will not cover all of these situations in detail, here are some general recommendations for riding in more difficult terrain. Always be on the lookout for bumps, holes, ruts, or other obstacles in your path. Slow down and evaluate your situation whilst crossing a paddock. On slippery surfaces, apply the brakes lightly and try and plan your turns so you don't have to brake hard while cornering. On steeper ascents, select the correct gear. Make sure you have a good running start and keep your weight forward. Many ATVs can cross rivers, streams and fords that can be quite deep. Before crossing a stream, make sure that the water is not too deep or the current too fast. The brakes on most ATVs are fully sealed. However, anytime you ride through water, it's a good idea to test the brakes afterwards. ATVs are also good for use on ice and snow. But when you travel across these or any slippery surface, keep your speed down to maintain complete control. If your visibility is limited by hills, trees, tall grass, rain, snow, or dust from another vehicle, slow down. The most important thing to remember is don't attempt riding in difficult terrain until you're comfortable with the vehicle and confident in your abilities. When used properly, your ATV can be very productive and a convenient way of getting to hard-to-reach locations. But like any piece of machinery, you need to take precautions to avoid accidents and injuries. It's important that riders are big enough and strong enough to handle the ATV they ride. That is why youths under 16 should not ride a farm ATV. It's also important that every rider, especially younger people, have the maturity, judgment, and common sense to know when to slow down and when not to attempt difficult terrain. ATVs are designed for off-road use. The big high-traction tyres that make them great in dirt or mud require more steering effort on paved surfaces. If you must cross a paved surface, cross at a straight 90-degree angle and get off the pavement as soon as possible. If you need to travel along the side of a road, remember that drivers of cars and trucks are looking for other vehicles. They may not see the smaller ATV. ATVs that are designed with a seat only suitable for one person should not carry passengers. Because ATVs require active riding techniques, it is important that the rider is able to shift their body weight around on the vehicle. A passenger will limit this and upset the balance of the ATV, especially across uneven ground. Therefore, never carry a passenger on your ATV. Never ride after using alcohol or drugs. Riding off-road requires quick reactions. Even common cold medicines can cause drowsiness and reduce your ability to control the vehicle. ATVs are often used to carry tools and materials to the worksite, but putting too much weight on the back or front can create problems with balance and control. Follow the maximum load limit guidelines carefully and always make sure that your load is tied down and very secure. Every ATV comes with a toolkit. If you're going far away from your base, it's a good idea to have your tools with you and let someone know where you are going. As an ATV is an integral part of most farms, the use of a trailer will enhance the potential of your ATV. When towing a loaded trailer, the rider must be aware the characteristics of an ATV will change. Spend some time practicing driving forward and reversing before using a trailer for everyday farm use. Always stay with the manufacturer's specifications of towing capacity, otherwise you may risk damaging the ATV transmission. Spread the trailer load over the center of the axle, paying attention to the load on the tow ball. Too much weight on the tow ball will cause the front wheels of your ATV to sledge. Too much weight at the rear of the trailer will cause the ATV's back wheels to lose drive. Excessive loads will cause the trailer to jackknife or push the ATV in a direction that you do not want. Where equipped, electric shift or ESP mode is recommended when towing to allow the rider to maintain control. This is because automatic shifting cannot see what lies ahead. One final note about where you ride. An ATV can take you to places where cars and trucks just can't go. While the big tires are gentle on most surfaces, please take extra care when using your ATV on environmentally sensitive terrains. Be careful when crossing streams, wetlands, or freshly planted crops. Stay on established trails whenever possible and always ride responsibly. To get the most from your ATV, learn the proper riding techniques and practice safe riding habits. Follow all safety recommendations in this film and your owner's manual. When faced with unfamiliar situations, slow down and always use common sense. Thank you for choosing Honda. Ride safely and your ATV will provide you with dependable service for years to come.